Hey everybody, it's Dark Guardsman, and we're back at it here with a little bit more progress on the tank game. So I've been doing a little bit of everything when it comes to this, jumping between doing UI stuff to doing AI stuff and everything else. So I know in the last video we were working on the actual AI and actually getting them going places and doing stuff with them. And at the moment they really only were able to just kind of shoot at the player and do basically that. I'm currently in the process of actually getting into Pathfind, but what I do actually have, if we can snap the game back over here, have it on the other monitor, is I can show off what progress I actually do have when it comes to the behavior of the AIs. Now, when I'm really saying AI, I'm really just talking about really simple scripts that kind of control the logic to make the AIs look like they're alive. In reality, they're not really artificially intelligent, they're just kind of dumbed down automated scripts. So what we do have is, I've got a prototype for a bit of a more advanced AI. And then I started on some melee AIs as well. So let's go ahead and go up here and move around. So you can see these guys are shooting at me. So we've got a little bit more advanced one. This is one that's going to be what most of the AIs are going to kind of look like. They're going to be some kind of body with multiple cannons on them, because after all, if the player gets multiple cannons, the AIs get multiple cannons too. So we've got that. So this will basically have that. So it's got a body that rotates, and in addition to that, it's got a turret that rotates. You can kind of see where it's rotating a little bit separately from where the turret's rotating from the body. So this is kind of just a prototype. I got a little bit better artwork that I do plan to actually use if we can find it here. Let me go ahead and dump down into the assets folder here. A lot of stuff, but I'm only a couple days into this and I've already managed to build up a quite sizable amount of assets as it is. So we've got, well, this one's going to be called the Twin Blasters. This one I'm going to be working on. Actually, just didn't export the image, so we'll have to open up GIMP and hope that my computer doesn't freeze in the process. GIMP is not one of the most responsive tools to be running, because it has a tendency, at least on my machine, has a tendency to freeze the computer. So we've got this. Ignore the pink background, that's just so I can make sure I can see what's going on. So this is what the enemy is going to kind of look like. I'm definitely going to have to smooth out the body a little bit, because it looks a little too much like a spear. And as my asset developer Grogger, who's doing a lot of the design work right now for actually designing the story and everything else in dialogue, he looked at this and it looks like you took a Pokeball and stuck it on tracks. And I have to admit, yeah, it does look like a Pokeball. So definitely going to need more work. What I'm thinking about is just kind of slanting the back down a little bit, maybe bringing it back out, because there's going to be side cannons here, which will be pretty sizable, and I might stick a couple on the top here. I'm trying not to cover the front of this, because I do want you to be able to see that the eyes that's on here, because this thing has about 4 sets of eyes and a really big eye in the middle for kind of seeing stuff. One thing to note with the enemy types you're going to be fighting in the game, you're going to be fighting robots. Most of the robots you will be fighting are not actually military style robots. So you'll be fighting a lot of robots that are repurposed to fight, but were not originally designed for that. So this one would have been designed maybe for doing, I don't know, construction work, some kind of basic work, and then they just slap some weapons on them, and now it's being used to actually shoot with. So that's kind of the concept behind it. So we're in the game, go back to the game here. So more additions to the game have been made as well. So there's now a max range check for the weapons, so they'll stop firing. There's also some movement system for these. So these two guys can actually move. Let me actually figure out why they're not moving really quick here. And we got the test mob here. I'm trying to do physics-based movement, and I'm having difficulties with it. Hence why they're not actually moving, because physics-based movement's a little funky. So yeah, this meant to be 10 meters a second is what this is actually meant to be, and you can clearly tell that's not what's happening. This is why I don't really like the Unity physics system. It's I'm having to put stupidly large numbers in here just to get it to move forward. It does have a distance check on movement, and it looks like I am taking collisions. Oh, there we go. I may have set it too high now. So it will chase me around and actually shoot at me, which really simple basic script for this. It's literally just a script that just figures out where I'm at and it will follow. Let me actually drop the speed back down. To be honest, this might actually work. What I plan to do, I actually plan to use a Pathfinder for this, and the idea would be the Pathfinder will move somewhat near the player, and then when the AI gets near the player and he can actually see him, then a different script will take over, which will just do exactly what it's doing right now, which is just chase me around. Let's go ahead and get the other one. The other one guy, which is a spike mob right here, I'm just literally using the bullet graphic with a plate graphic in here to test this. This is actually going to be like a lobster-looking creature that will be used for swarm tactics. You'll end up fighting like a dozen of these. Let me actually fix its movement speed as well. Let's set him to 1,000. Yeah, so what you would have is maybe 100 or so of these chasing you down, and what they'll do is they'll melee you for really low amounts of damage that won't do anything to you. But the concept is they'll swarm at you and distract you, because you'll be able to shoot them and blow them up. And then of course you'll get this guy, which these guys will be a lot more tanky. So there'll be a range of these different things. So we'll have probably turrets. So I'm probably going to keep this turret design. Definitely going to work on some graphics for it. I want this to look really, really cool. And we'll have interchangeable weapons. So there'll be some turrets that you'll have to fight. They won't be as common because I don't really want to do a lot of static emplacements because the storytelling doesn't really play to that very well. Well, maybe, I don't know, there's a couple missions where I could probably do a decent amount of static emplacements and it would make sense. But the majority of the enemies you will fight, at least in the early part of the game, will be mobile enemies, enemies that you can constantly move around and everything else and do stuff like that. That will be fighting you. And of course, movement and everything else. And once I get the pathfinding in, I should be able to start working on a lot more intelligent logic where these AIs will move around and hopefully start taking cover. I don't know how much I'm going to emphasize on the cover part because these are meant to be open world, well, not open area, because it's not open world because you're not going to be able to travel around freely. It will be somewhat linear. There will be side branches you can go off into and side quests you'll be able to do off of the levels. The plan is to do a level map similar to kind of the Mario games where you have like, okay, you went from A to B to C and so on, but then there's this like side tunnel you can go off into and get to that area and so on. So that's one of the plans that we'll plan to do. So there'll be side quests that way. But like early levels, at least, you'll be fighting a lot of mobile enemies in a kind of open area. So there won't be a lot of cover to run into. This is just ideal because I want there to be fast movement, and running into stuff is not ideal. The city maps, however, will have a lot of stuff to run into simply because I want those to be a lot more brawler style maps. Maps that you have to face tank. You have to run up an enemy and punch them, like do stuff like that. And I mean relatively speaking punching, because I mean we will have melee weapons in this game, but that's not something you'll be doing very often. Anyways, I'll leave you guys here and I'll be back with more videos here later.